covenless witch.
It's been Agatha all along. All that's foul and fair.
She took every little bit of power I had, assembling a coven. We gotta get back on top. I'm gonna walk the road.
Darkest hour, wake thy power, earthly and divine.
Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Agatha All Along, Episode 6, Familiar by Thy Side. Before I get fully into spoilers, I want to say there's a lot of highlights to this episode. Joe Locke really delivering such a great performance. I will say this episode was a little bit longer because we did dive into some aspects that we were hoping to resolve after all the revelations from the previous episode. Marvel also dropped that mid-season trailer that really told us a lot about what's coming. And although this episode was really good, it was not as good as the previous one. I think I can't help but to compare it to the latest episode of The Penguin, where we also got a bit of a kind of a flashback to a story about a specific character that we've been following along. So obviously the parallels there, but that's not to say that this episode was bad. It's really just more a comment on how good the episode of The Penguin was. But either way, we're not here to talk about Penguin. Let's get into everything that just happened in Agatha All Along, episode 6. Really fun stuff, though. Really cool reveals. A lot of answers for sure, which I think it's fun to give your audience, especially because there's only going to be 3 episodes left after this one. So we pick up 3 years prior at the bar mitzvah for William Kaplan, who is teen. So we know that's his actual name. We have his parents are Jeff, played by Paul Edelstein, and Rebecca Kaplan is Maria Dicia. At this party, we do see that, he's just a normal, regular, run-of-the-mill teen who has their own interest and all that. One of the people that is at this party, though, is Lilia, who is there as a palm reader, just kind of like, some of the things that people do at the parties. You have like magicians and stuff like that, and a palm reader, which is Lilia. That was really interesting to see. So from there, I theorized just that we would see all the other witches that we've been seeing along. So I kind of kept my eye out for that and put it on the notes. I really thought I had more notes overall, but I mean, once I see them in a computer monitor and not on my phone, it feels like they really do. It's not as much as I thought. I thought this video was going to be a lot longer. We do find out that Lilia put a sigil on him. This was after reading his palm, and I think that Lilia understood that he was going to need protection maybe from something in the future, just from everything. We got another outburst from Lilia from 3 years ago. So that means that this is still coming, something that's going to happen in the tower, probably during one of her, maybe even during her trial. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Lilia put the sigil on him. And then before all that, so right after that, during the party, all the Westview stuff, the end of, we'll call it, I guess, the end of WandaVision also happened simultaneously, which forces everyone to leave the party early. We had seen that there was a car crash. So both his parents were on that car crash with him. He was in the back. And the understanding that we are given is that William Kaplan did die, but Billy Maximoff, his spirit, his soul, whatever, his essence, found this vessel of William Kaplan and imbued it, and now it is who resides there. In this car ride, we did hear Wanda and Vision on the radio, which was interesting. The car accident itself was like a really rough scene. Like, it looked pretty intense. We do see that Alice is the cop that comes over to help after the accident. And then William, he goes to the hospital, recovers, but this is not the same person anymore. It is a truly new entity that inhabits the body of William Kaplan. So it's kind of weird. Things are weird with his parents. As we know, Billy could kind of read minds. a little bit. So that's something new that he has this ability now. And I can't imagine being a teenager and being able to read your parents' minds, just because they're probably always worrying about something. That's got to be pretty intense as well. But we do see that William, and the reason that he's probably compatible with Billy is that he also likes, witches and magic and stuff like that. We can see it all throughout his room decor. A lot of like the Wizard of Oz and the Black Cauldron and just things that media with witches and stuff like that, and a lot of posters of Houdini as well. So like we know that the interest in magic and witchcraft was always there, even though William was a completely different person. We also catch up with a few years later. We do catch up with William and Eddie. Eddie, who is not Teddy Hulkling. Eddie is played by Miles Gutierrez Riley, who is William's boyfriend. So this is not Teddy from the comics. It's a different. Well, as of right now, this is a completely different character that seems to be that seems to just be made up for the show. Now, William wants to be completely honest with Eddie, and so he takes him up to his room. And as they're kind of going through like some of his information that he's put together from the internet, he's watching a video. They're watching a video from the things that happened at the end of One Division and the hex and the big dome, a red dome was, we see that from the outside. But before that, on the whatever street YouTube or whatever they're watching, a video of Jin comes up in the ad. So like we have now seen three of the witches that eventually William will be traveling with on the road. He's also listening to the road song later on as well. So like it's all really there. Um, William and Eddie are gonna meet this person that's gonna they're gonna meet a stranger from the internet, which seems dangerous overall. But this is also a stranger that is coming to tell them about Westview. It's a resident of Westview that's willing to talk. And you know what it is? The big reveal. We saw this figure with a hat, like a little hat and some long hair. Of course, people always throwing up theories that are we finally gonna get Mephisto? It is not Mephisto. I don't think that it was ever planned to be Mephisto. But it is Ralph Boner. We got Bonered again, um, which we get a little bit more of his backstory and how tragic it really is, right? Agatha moves into his house, hijacked his life, forces him to kind of be her husband, and in this whole one division of it all. Um, and yeah, he explains that the citizens of Westview during the whole one division thing were just hijacked of their bodies and their free wills. They were kind of like living, just seeing their lives play out in Wanda's hex. So that's pretty messed up. I will say that scene with Ralph Boner does very much tonally change the feeling of the show, which it was very kind of serious and dramatic for the most part. But then after that, it's a little bit there. Just for that one scene, it's a little bit different. So I don't know how people are gonna receive that. It threw me for a bit of a loop. So like, if I noticed it, I feel like a lot of other people may also notice it, bring it up, maybe even complain about how it's very tonally different from the show, but it does give us a lot of insight and a lot of kind of closure in some of the things, some of the questions that might have been left pending from WandaVision. So we'll see. Uh, but this is what really told me once he talked to Ralph, he realized that he finds out about Agatha. Billy finds out about his brother Tommy. So that in my notes I wrote down is what he really wants, not so much to get his mom back, but is it Tommy? And that comes up again later on. So we're finally back to the night when we met Teen in the first episode of Agatha, and while she's still kind of like in the illusion, but it's really funny to see everything from outside the illusion, right? From Billy's point of view, because it's like just Agatha acting like a crazy person running around. So we finally get to the point where we are back now. So it was about 35 minutes of this episode was kind of the backstory, and then we are now back at the present. We do see that Agatha ends up crawling out of the mud, and they just talk a lot. They talk about who he is, He can't really control his powers yet unless he's like really, really angry. That was kind of the trigger for it. Um, but of course, he wants to keep going, and this is where we really see that that what he really wants is probably Tommy to get his brother back somehow. So they're gonna move on to the next trial, and they're gonna work together for now. I think we'll see some of the other witches later on because we've seen them in some of the trailers and stuff. There's the whole trial, which appears to be Lilius in the castle, where everybody's kind of dressed up as a different witch from pop culture. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And but yeah, here it is. The mystery has been solved. Teen is really Belly Maximoff. Um, but yeah, I never even thought that Tommy would be the thing that he's actually looking for. I bet he feels like, if he can get his brother back, he can maybe put some of his life a little bit back together. We'll see how that plays out. So the new characters of Billy's parents and his boyfriend fill in the missing credits at the end. There were two slots that looked to be missing names. But the other interesting thing I noticed was that there was no Aubrey Plaza name in the credits. And that's because Rio's been missing since the end of the last episode. So there was no Aubrey Plaza, of course, in this one because there was no Rio. Everyone else showed up at some point during the story, including the new characters. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the next episode. We only have 3 more to go. I feel like the last 2 are gonna drop in the same night, so I just probably do one long video for everything. So we'll have one more next week, which will probably be the next trial with the witches, and then everything else that's still to come. I don't think Ralph Boner is going to come back into the MCU anymore. I think this was kind of his send off for Evan Peters. So yeah, so it was 4 names that they added. One of them was, of course, Evan Peters, Paul Addison, Maria Dicia, and of course Miles Gutierrez Riley for those 4 characters. So if you have any more theories, let me know down in the comments. If you notice anything else that I might have missed, let me know as well. And as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.